Jun Shirasaki was an ugly, pathetic loser with nothing special going on. However, one day, everything changes when twin sisters move in as his neighbors, but because of some loose bolt, they want to get freaky with him. When Jun was young, a new family moved in next door. They wanted him because she loved reading just like him and was curious about many different topics. Ruby would often see Jun and Naori happily chatting about things she didn't understand, such as a book about human anatomy that had pictures of babies. Still, Jun's excited way of explaining things made her even more interested in what they were talking about. As the twins and Jun grew older, they looked so much alike that only their mom, Jun, and sometimes even their dad could tell them apart. They often played together at the park, where they conversed more with Naori, and they often walked home together. One evening, after doing her makeup, Rumi texted Jun to join her at the convenience store. She also asked Naori if she needed anything. Naori requested pudding, so she pulled Jun to sit down on a bench. She told Jun that Naori was really into a writer named either Marquez or Marx, and she wanted Jun's opinion. Jun guessed it was probably Marquez, even though he hadn't asked him if he wanted to go out with her. She said it would be good practice for them since they were starting high school soon. Ruby was afraid he would say no, so she made up a bunch of reasons why it would be a good idea. When Jun didn't say anything better than her and feeling guilty. But whenever she spent time with Jun, that guilt seemed to... He was a sporty and cheerful guy. He would often walk ahead on the street, and only when Ruby caught up would he take her hand. Their big moment came when they shared a kiss at the aquarium. Slowly, they began to act more like a real couple, sneaking around to meet and kiss in stairwells, keeping their relationship a secret from everyone, including Naori. Ruby told Naori about her dates with Jun, even though she knew Naori liked him too. Ruby felt bad about it, but she didn't know what else to do. Situation with both sisters facing their own challenges, and was always the top student in their class. One day, while talking to Jun and another boy, Naori said, then Rumi walked up to them. Naori had always known that her sister liked Jun, so she never told Jun how she felt. She didn't want to ruin their close relationship, and she didn't want to lose either of them. Naori could have been the top student too, but she always rushed through her exams. There was another reason why she kept her feelings to herself. She had made a challenge for herself, so she hadn't confessed her feelings. Naori's secret challenge added another layer to her complicated feelings for Jun. She wanted to win, not just for the sake of winning, but because it would give her the courage to express her true feelings. The pressure to succeed, both in her studies and in her heart, weighed heavily on her. Naori was sad when Ruby told her she was going out with Jun, but Ruby wanted to keep their relationship a secret, so Naori helped her hide it. When she was alone, Naori cried, but the next day she acted like nothing had happened. She even gave Rumi advice about dating. Naori was confused. She wanted to know about Rumi and Jun's dates, but she also didn't want to know. She couldn't stop thinking about them together. Jun was very smart and Rumi was kind and happy. They seemed like a good match. Jun family, the fathers have lively chats, while the mothers and Rumi sit on one side and Jun and Naori sit on the other. After recently breaking up with Jun, Rumi feels a bit bitter as she watches him enjoying himself with her sister. Herself that she's not being creepy. Even though she wishes they could be together, she feels lost. Before Jun comes back, she quickly gets off the bed, acting like nothing happened, and tells him what his parents said. Then she asks him what he wants for the barbecue, and he replies that anything is fine. After talking about his ex-girlfriend, he questions why she thinks she should control his love life, especially since it seems strange to date Naori right after breaking up with Rumi. However, Rumi keeps pushing the issue, saying that she ended their relationship so he could be with Naori. She argues that if they don't start dating, then what was the point of breaking up? Rumi even tells Jun that Naori has feelings for him. Jun is a bit surprised by this news, but not completely shocked. He wonders why she is bringing this up now since he was in a relationship with Rumi, not Naori. Seeing that her words aren't working, it's her. Just when she starts feeling hungry, she gets a message from Jun asking her to go for a walk, and Naori happily agrees. Since Jun has broken up with Rumi, Naori feels that he might be feeling lonely, and she thinks it's her responsibility to keep him company. She gets ready and heads to Jun's house, where she is surprised to hear that he wants to go watch a movie. It is about the first time she met Jun as a child, playfully teasing him about being a bit of a subculture kid back then. Jun feels shy talking about his past with someone he likes. Feeling relieved, Jun relaxes and Naori playfully nudges him. As they officially become a couple, Naori opens her arms for a hug, and Jun skillfully pulls her into his embrace, making the moment special for both of them. In the evening, the sisters decide not to dwell on that topic any longer. Instead, Rumi mentions that Naori's legs are a bit chubby and suggests they should go jogging together sometime. Naori quickly declines, saying that many boys actually prefer girls who are a little chubby like her. 2 days later, during a family barbecue, everyone enjoys a big meal together. After everyone has eaten enough, Rumi takes over the household tasks while the two fathers continue chatting. Jun and Naori join in on the conversation. Were really good. As the evening goes on, both Naori and Rumi's father express how much they will miss Jun and Naori when they leave. They comment on how wonderful it would be if Jun could become their son-in-law, which would give them more chances to talk and spend time together in the future. Jun's father suddenly starts to feel more sober and agrees that having Jun as a son-in-law would be great. Naori looks excited about this idea, but Jun quickly changes the topic to something else. While Rumi is busy cleaning the table, Naori runs after Jun, likely wanting to spend more time with him. The next day, Rumi heads off to a club activity, leaving Naori to visit Jun in his room. Books they've read and the movies they've seen. Jun admires how well Naori reads and tries to keep up with her knowledge. Feeling a spark between them, Naori suddenly wants to kiss him. She gently turns Jun towards her and leans in for it. Jun recently ended his relationship with the older twin Rumi and started dating her younger sister Naori. Rumi should not feel guilty about the situation. She wonders if keeping quiet and enduring everything will truly make everyone happy, including Rumi herself. After all, a person who is unhappy cannot make others happy. Rumi stays. Meanwhile, Jun is talking with a close friend when Naori naturally joins them. She freely talks about mature topics, making it more of a conversation between her and Jun's friend since Jun is too shy to say much. Eventually, they plan a movie night for the weekend, including June. Just then, Rumi reminds them that lunch break is over. Naori, showing impatience, says goodbye and leaves for her class. Moro, professor. She later finds out that Naori gave him this nickname because it sounds. When Jun mentions Naori again, Rumi hides her discomfort and reflects on Naori's habit of giving people nicknames. Naori has friends and exercising so house for a movie. His friend is a typical otaku, with posters of attractive actresses and adult films everywhere. One film. Without hesitation, Moriwaki replies that it was her face and chest, though that is all in the past now. Jun finally understands why some girls call Moriwaki a shallow person who only cares about looks. Moriwaki, however, is proud of this reputation. The topic then shifts to Jun's relationships. More of her instance then. He does not see it as a big deal, but their mother understands Rumi's disappointment. Rumi had been working hard to become a regular player in her first year, and now she cannot play at all. Naori suddenly calls from outside. Immediately, Rumi opens the door and steps out with Jun following behind. Naori, fully aware of what had almost happened, says nothing. At the dinner table, the atmosphere is both peaceful and tense. Rumi avoids looking at Jun, and Jun does not dare meet Naori's gaze. The next morning, Jun and Naori walk to school together. Naori talks nonstop behind him, but Jun remains quiet and barely listens. He is not there, but invites her in to sit. Moriwaki already knows that Jun is dating Naori, though he understands that Jun came to him more for advice than just to share the news. Naori is also aware of what has been bothering Jun. They grew up together, so she understands him well. Childhood. She admits that she always thought Jun was closer to her sister. They often spent time together, making her believe that Jun's first love was Rumi. What she does not realize is that Jun actually liked her since they were kids. Meanwhile, Jun tells him to stop, reminding him that he and Naori love each other, and that it is better this way. Jun finally understands why Rumi insisted on ending their relationship, but first love is first love. He'd always loved Rumi since they started dating, but there is no point in saying it now. Rumi never truly felt his love or heard him say it. Their relationship is over. On the other side, after ending their relationship, Jun finally expressed his real feelings to Rumi. In the past, he had been interested in Naori and always wanted to prove himself better than her during their childhood. However, Naori never seemed to pay much attention to him. Over time, his interest faded, especially after Rumi approached him first. As they spent more time together, he slowly developed feelings for her. But Rumi remained unmoved by his words, believing that just as he once forgot about Naori, he would eventually forget about her too. Despite this, knowing that Jun had truly liked her gave her a sense of peace, allowing her to move on. After sharing his emotions, Jun felt relieved, letting go of any lingering resentment. Back in class, Naori suddenly accused Moriwaki of inappropriate behavior. Though she had once enjoyed his teasing, this time she used it as a distraction from her own emotions. Jun, unconvinced by her reaction, questioned why she was crying, but she refused to explain. Out of nowhere, Naori asked Jun if he wanted to go on a date with her on Sunday. He agreed without much thought. Excited, Naori shared the news with her best friend, who was always on her side. Her friend eagerly gave her advice for the date, even if she owned such outfits. That night, she watched a romantic comedy at home, mentioning her upcoming date with Jun as she spoke. Naori casually brought up intimate topics, making it clear she had no reservations. Ruby suggested that she should be more careful, but Naori dismissed her concerns. She even made a playful comment, it was just a joke. Curiously, Rumi asked where they planned to go, and Naori revealed their destination was Ocean Park. Excited, Naori messaged Jun to confirm their plans, and after exchanging lighthearted messages, they both went to sleep. The next morning, Jun was surprised to see Naori looking exceptionally cute as she waited for him at his doorstep. Holding hands, they made their way to the amusement park, which had an aquarium and a Ferris wheel. Naori quickly realized Jun had been looking forward to riding the Ferris wheel at dusk, and she shared the same wish, chatting about random topics. At one point, Naori became distracted by the fish, while Jun was lost in his own thoughts. When Naori turned around and saw Jun had wandered off, she panicked and rushed to his side, scolding him for not staying close during their date. Jun followed her without complaint. They explored an exhibit where the smell might stay on her hands. Realizing her hands had an odd scent, Naori mischievously placed them near Jun's face, making him smell them as well. They joked around, much to the amusement of the staff. Meanwhile, Rumi was busy at a basketball tournament with her team. They did not make it to the semi-finals and were now competing for a suggestion from her best friend. Embarrassed that Jun saw it, Naori demanded to know what he thought. Jun was taken aback, not knowing how to respond as he unintentionally focused on her. Feeling self-conscious, Naori quickly explained not to get the wrong idea. However, she continued to tease him, asking if the sight had excited him and if he would think about it all night. Jun, completely flustered, turned red, which only made... As the day came to an end, they sat near a window and talked about movies. Jun found himself admiring Naori's beauty and then invited her to ride the Ferris wheel, but admitted that was how her boyfriend behaved. As the sun began to set, Jun described the time as the witching hour. During the ride, Naori opened up about her feelings. She admitted that she had always liked Jun and had tried to gain his attention in her own way. She had wanted to be better than him in school. If she could outperform him without double-checking her answers, she had planned to confess her feelings. Thinking back, she felt silly about her plan. Jun reassured her that she was not foolish at all. After the film, she wanted to reread a novel. Instead, she pulled Jun onto the bed, pressing against him as she kissed him deeply. Naori, sensing his hesitation, told him that she was willing to do anything with him. At the same time, she admitted she did not think their relationship was as serious as others might assume. Naori never had serious intentions of being in a relationship with Jun. She only agreed as a joke and never truly made up her mind. Watching Jun's confused reaction, she laughed before getting off him and sitting in a chair by the bed, ready to speak openly. She was fully aware that Jun's heart still belonged to Rumi, and that Rumi had broken up with him partly because of her. She also knew she had been Jun's first love, though it didn't really bother her. Whether Jun wanted to stay the way he was or move on didn't concern her either. However, she made sure to say things in a way that would push him toward ending things with her. To make her point clearer, Naori deliberately mentioned how much Jun was fixated on her looks and teasingly showed off her body, asking if he had no interest in touching her. Jun, embarrassed, couldn't respond properly, which made Naori laugh at his discomfort. She told him that he was free now and had to decide what he wanted to do. He could continue with her or walk away, possibly even try and get back together with Rumi. Though Naori preferred that he stay with her, she slowly moved closer as she spoke. But Jun realized he couldn't return to Rumi, nor could he keep going with Naori. Even though she was the first girl he had ever liked, the person he truly loved was Rumi, and he didn't want to hurt Naori by being unclear about his feelings. Still, Naori remained important to him. When he spoke honestly, she blushed and insisted he repeat what he said. Amused, Jun did as she asked. Pleased with his response, Naori hugged him, feeling like everything had been reset. Even though their emotions were still tangled, at least things had returned to a love triangle, like something from a romantic comedy. This time, she planned to fully enjoy competing with Rumi, though she knew she had an advantage after seeing Jun's flustered reaction toward her. Naori rarely went to the store with Rumi, but that day, after shopping, she took her sister to the park and openly told her that she and Jun were not actually in a relationship. She expected Rumi to be happy and appreciate her honesty, but deep down, she knew Rumi had stepped back from Jun as a way of easing her own guilt. Naori understood her sister's real thoughts but chose not to hold them against her. Rumi admitted that another reason for ending things with Jun was that he never talked about things she genuinely liked. Naori dismissed this as an excuse, but Rumi insisted it was true. She had always been cautious around Jun, which made her feel uncomfortable. Feeling superior, Naori believed that Rumi deserved to bear this on her own since she had never consulted her before making a decision. In the end, Rumi had only deceived herself into thinking she had made the right choice, coming up with a solution that only made things worse. Naori, however, felt relieved. She thought this was better than seeing Rumi constantly longing for love. Rumi didn't argue, showing her usual kindness. But Naori pressed further, denying that she had ever wanted them to break up. Everything had been Rumi's own choice. Knowing her own role in all of this, Naori asked Rumi to stop treating her a certain way, breaking down the emotional barrier between them. Ruby then questioned whether considering Naori as her dear sister had been a mistake and wondered if they should even call themselves sisters at all. Meanwhile, Jun went to talk to his friend Moriwaki about everything that had happened. After listening, Moriwaki was left speechless. In his opinion, since Jun and Naori were going to break up anyway, Jun should have gone all the way with her, making some lasting memories instead of holding back. Naturally, Moriwaki sided with Naori, feeling that she had done so much for Jun. He believed that if Jun failed to make a choice, it would be unfair to her. However, despite all the advice, Jun still couldn't decide between the two sisters. Naori felt relieved when Rumi mentioned the breakup. She had never wanted to speak to her as an older sister, but simply as Rumi, a person. In Naori's eyes, Rumi always carried a sense of responsibility and authority just because she was considered the older twin. Ruby had always believed it was her duty to look after Naori and manage her decisions. Even now, she took the first step in apologizing. Seeing the opportunity, Naori brought up a grand idea that two sisters living under the same roof and liking the same boy was proof that they got along well. Ruby, caught off guard by Naori's unexpectedly gentle attitude, was left speechless. Though confused, she allowed herself to be convinced, and eventually, she felt grateful to Naori. Their bond naturally mended itself. Now the real issue was Jun. Moriwaki scolded him, pointing out that the sisters had changed, yet he refused to do anything. Jun still didn't know what to do. Moriwaki told him to think about it simply. He should choose based on which of the sisters he was more physically attracted to. The sisters had gone through all of this to prevent one of them from completely stepping aside. But when Rumi finally admitted she had given up, Naori decided to shock her by bringing up their last date at the aquarium, casually claiming that she had given her virginity to Jun. Ruby was stunned, but before she could react, Naori laughed and admitted it was just a joke. Furious, Ruby scolded her. She no longer wanted to continue the conversation, but Naori kept teasing her, mentioning how she and Jun had kissed that day, and that she might even dream about him later. Although Jun had initially been hesitant, he had gradually become more passionate during their kiss, even using his tongue. Ruby tried not to listen, but she couldn't ignore it. It was clear that she still had feelings for Jun. Naori added another comment, telling Rumi that if she hesitated now, she would regret it later. It was her way of encouraging Rumi to live the way she truly wanted. They also talked about a girl they had once argued with, and Naori revealed she still kept in contact with her. Both Rumi and Naori had developed deeper feelings for Jun because of that past incident, and Ruby finally admitted to herself that she still loved him. The next morning, Jun arrived at the twins' house, and the three of them stood together. Naori instantly started arguing with Jun about something silly, and Rumi joined in. It felt as if everything had returned to the way it was before. From now on, Rumi and Naori would compete fairly. Later that day after school, Jun and Rumi found themselves alone by the stairwell. Ruby asked if he was really in a relationship with Naori. Jun's reaction made it obvious that it was true. But before Rumi could say anything, Jun quickly explained that he had stopped himself because, at that moment, he had thought of Rumi's face. Finally, the tension between them eased and everything felt normal again. Naori felt confident even after realizing that her sister and Jun were becoming close. She believed she had nothing to worry about since she was attractive, had been Jun's first love, and had a better figure than Rumi. Wanting to impress Jun, she put in extra effort in her studies and secured the highest marks in the latest exam. Excited to share her achievement, she rushed to find Jun, only to discover that he had also ranked first. Shocked by the unexpected result, she ran off without another word. Their playful rivalry continued as they argued in the school building. Jun made it clear that he would not respond to Naori's confession or pursue a relationship with Rumi. Doubting his words, Naori challenged him to prove it by hugging her in front of their classmates. To settle the situation, Jun hugged her, unaware that Rumi was passing by and witnessed everything. Seeing this, Rumi became jealous but masked her feelings by using an excuse. She insisted she needed a hug too, claiming she had supported him at a basketball game. Jun, not wanting to show favoritism, hugged Rumi as well and promised to cheer for her over the weekend. Later, Rumi brought up her classmate Sheena, a well-known beauty and part-time model who struggled with academics. Since both Jun and Naori had achieved the highest scores, Rumi believed Naori would refuse to tutor Sheena. With that in mind, she approached Jun instead. After hearing the explanation, Sheena eagerly set a meeting after school. Back in class, Moriwaki teased Jun about his growing popularity with girls, though Jun found the attention exhausting and wished he could pass his luck to someone else. Meanwhile, Naori lost her appetite, upset by the situation. Her best friend attempted to lift her mood by asking what would make her happy. Without hesitation, Naori answered that she wanted money. Their conversation shifted to something more lighthearted, and her friend reminded her about their upcoming birthday, suggesting they celebrate together. Naori immediately agreed. Ruby later searched for Jun but found only his older brother Sakaguchi in the classroom. Since Sakaguchi was also part of the basketball team, they talked briefly about an upcoming joint practice session. Eventually, Rumi spotted Jun outside and informed him about Shina's request for tutoring. She explained that Shina had heard about his good grades and decided on him as a tutor. Though Jun had the option to decline, Rumi urged him to make a decision soon and let Shina know after practice. She also advised him to keep it a secret from Naori. To prevent Naori from finding out too soon, Jun contacted her best friend and asked for help distracting her. Always up for some fun, the friend immediately agreed and even suggested that tutoring Shina might be a good experience for Jun. She made a deal. If Jun agreed to tutor Shina, she would find out what Naori wanted for her birthday, saving him from the trouble of picking the wrong gift. The offer was tempting and Jun decided to go along with it. After practice, Rumi's classmates expressed concern over her interactions with Jun, recalling their past relationship. They had noticed her feeling down lately but were relieved to see her spirits lifting. Some playfully teased her about it. Later that evening, Rumi and Jun met with Shina, who suggested they continue their conversation over dinner. Jun initially refused, but Rumi explained that Shina's father was away and her mother was rarely home. Seeing no harm in keeping her company, Jun agreed. Unexpectedly, Shina invited them to her house for the meal. Meanwhile, Naori and her friend went to pick something up from the art club. On the way, they encountered Moriwaki, who was unusually without Jun curious. Naori asked about it, and without thinking, Moriwaki revealed that Jun was meeting with Shina. At Shina's house, Jun and Rumi were welcomed by her pet ragdoll cat, which immediately sat still on Rumi's lap. Before dinner, Shina casually asked Rumi if she had feelings for Jun instinctively. Rumi denied it, which reassured Shina. She then moved to the kitchen, calling Jun by his first name and playfully asking if he was happy to see her. Constantly pursued by Naori, Jun nearly wavered at the unexpected attention. Elsewhere, Naori was openly criticizing Shina, calling her an attention seeker and a flirt. She felt annoyed that Shina had approached Jun. However, she also recognized that Shina possessed a mix of qualities from both her and Rumi. She had beauty and domestic skills. When dinner was served, both Jun and Rumi praised Shina's cooking despite her struggles in academics. Jun had already committed to helping her with studies. On the way home, Jun and Rumi talked about the national basketball competition, enjoying their conversation as they walked. Suddenly, Naori appeared behind them, mocking them for walking together. Rudy explained that they had been at Shina's house since she had asked Jun to be her tutor. At first, Naori was furious, but her mood improved upon hearing about Shina's cat. She complained that they hadn't invited her but eventually forgave them because of the cat. After reaching home, Naori confronted Jun, wanting to know if he had rejected Shina's offer. However, Jun's response left her hanging. Naori felt restless at home, trying to understand what made Jun interested in Shina, but unwilling to admit her jealousy. The next day, she went to confront him and found him watching a movie that appeared inappropriate. However, Jun quickly clarified that it was just a regular film. She had come to ask why he agreed to tutor Shina, but the thought slipped from her mind when he served her mango pudding. Deep down, she was worried that Shina might try to win Jun over, though she had no desire to tutor alongside him. At school, Jun invited Rumi to lunch to discuss the tutoring arrangements. Shina suggested having their study sessions at her house, which made Jun uneasy about being alone with her. Since Rumi had club activities and couldn't go with him, she reassured him not to overthink the situation. With no other option, Jun went to Shina's house alone, where her cat greeted him. Before they could begin studying, Shina decided to take a shower, leaving Jun waiting. Meanwhile, Rumi had dinner with her friends but found herself thinking about Jun and Shina. She recalled how Shina had once asked if she liked Jun and wondered if it was mere curiosity or if Shina had feelings for him. Her thoughts were interrupted when a friend mentioned seeing Naori nearby. Without hesitation, Rumi went after her and asked why she was there. Feeling ignored by both her sister and Jun lately, Naori knew about Rumi's regular Friday dinner with her team and decided to check it out. Realizing Naori's mood, Rumi invited her to join the dinner, but Naori initially refused in a dismissive manner. Knowing how her sister could be, Rumi offered to buy her a dessert, which instantly changed Naori's mind. Back at Shina's house, she casually walked out after her shower without getting dressed, explaining it was just a habit. Once they finally started studying, she struggled to focus and kept chatting instead. Her curiosity about which sister Jun liked made it hard for her to concentrate. Jun turned the conversation around by asking if she had a boyfriend. To his surprise, she said no but admitted having a small interest in someone. However, the person she liked wasn't who Jun expected. She gave him clues. The person was a student at their school, more like tea than coffee, and belonged to the top-performing class. Now it was Shina's turn to ask about Jun's past relationship with Rumi. At the same time, Rumi and her friend were having a similar discussion about her history with Jun while walking home with Naori. Naori was still uneasy about Sheena getting close to Jun, but Rumi assured her that Jun wasn't the type to fall for someone like Sheena, though they couldn't be completely sure he wasn't drawn to attractive girls. While Rumi and Naori talked, Jun found himself struggling with Sheena's playful distractions. Instead of studying, she kept sending him to fetch smacks. Taking advantage of the moment, she sneaked away while he was in the kitchen. Jun followed and discovered a room filled with collectible figurines, including one from his favorite movie, Space Cowboy. He was surprised that Sheena had an interest in such things, but she revealed that most of the collection belonged to her father. The room was like a hidden retreat for her. Sheena explained that her parents were fashion designers with ambitions to expand their business across Japan. Their careers played a big role in her decision to pursue modeling. Learning this about her made Jun see her in a different light. By the weekend, Naori's close friend called her multiple times before showing up at her house, eager for a shopping trip. At the same time, Jun and Sheena were also at the mall as Jun needed Sheena's advice on picking a birthday gift for Rumi. Since Rumi and Naori shared the same birthday, Naori's friend helped her shop while Jun focused on finding something special for Rumi. As Naori browsed through stores, she suddenly spotted Jun and Sheena passing by together. Annoyed, she jokingly asked her friend which law applied to homicide. Instead of confronting them, she secretly took a picture and sent it to Rumi. Rumi wasn't too concerned since she knew Sheena had feelings for someone else, not Jun. However, Naori decided that next time, she would personally accompany Jun to Sheena's house. Wanting to make a good impression, she dressed up for the occasion. Sheena handed her the cat and complimented her outfit. She even gave Naori a small toy for the cat. As Naori played, she ended up falling asleep with the cat beside her. Later, Sheena's mother arrived and warmly embraced Naori, who was still waking up groggily. She then mentioned that Sheena's father was in Japan and suggested calling their brother to join them for dinner. Jun and Naori decided to excuse themselves and leave. After spending the day together, Naori Sheena might not be as bad as she had thought. Holding hands with Jun, she walked home feeling more at ease. Jun happily picked out a birthday gift for Rumi while also asking Naori's best friend for something special for Naori. More wacky, feeling that he should also get Naori a gift, decided to accompany Jun on his shopping trip. Meanwhile, Rumi prepared for an important basketball game the next day. As the only freshman in it, she felt both excited and nervous. Her best friend, who was a substitute player, talked about her relationship with her boyfriend. Although they had made up, she felt that pretending everything was fine wouldn't change their problems. She believed concerns and dislikes was necessary to make a relationship last. This made Rumi think about her own past with Jun when they dated. She often hid her true feelings, her breakup. Her friend, however, encouraged her not to give up completely, suggesting that there was still hope to fix things. Lifted Rumi's spirits, and soon after, she received a message from Jun asking to meet at the park. At first, they struggled to find the right words. Rumi mentioned that Sheena had an important makeup exam, and if she passed, Jun wouldn't have her anymore. Jun then revealed why he had invited Rumi. He wanted to give her a gift before her game. She found a new sports water bottle, replacing her old one that Jun had noticed was worn out. She loved the thoughtful gift and promised to use it during the game. Feeling happy, she asked Jun for a hug and didn't refuse. In that moment, she felt like nothing, not even her sister Naori, could take away her happiness. Jun admitted that he planned to cheer for Rumi during the game. She enjoyed hearing his compliments about her basketball skills, something even her family had never acknowledged. Overwhelmed with emotion, Rumi suddenly leaned in and kissed him. Jun responded without hesitation. When Rumi arrived home in the evening, she told Naori she had been delayed by a team meeting and other matters. Naori gave her a knowing look but didn't press for details. However, Rumi felt guilty and later went to Naori's room to confess that she had met with Jun. Naori wasn't surprised and said she didn't mean to report every little thing. She also didn't want to ruin the mood before their birthday. After that, she urged Rumi to go eat dinner. The next day, Sheena happily told Jun that she had passed her exam. When Naori arrived, Sheena greeted her warmly before heading off to take the test. Jun and Naori walked home together as it started raining. They both silently hoped that Rumi's basketball game would go well since a loss might spoil their birthday celebration. On the way home, Jun suggested they take a small detour, but Naori preferred to go straight to her room. Once inside, she casually removed her socks in front of Jun. At that moment, he gave her a birthday present, a small plush seal with a zipper on its belly that revealed tiny penguins inside. Naori was delighted and immediately realized that Jun must have asked her best friend for advice. He handed her another gift, a glasses case identical to his own. He explained that it wasn't because he favored her, but because he felt guilty for already giving Rumi a present. Figured out his reasoning quickly. Jun admitted that he simply wanted to show his support during Rumi's game. Still, Naori wasn't entirely happy. She playfully complained about him making decisions without telling her when they had agreed to compete fairly. She leaned against him, asking for more time together, just like he spent with Rumi. Her teasing made Jun feel even guiltier. He held her tightly before suggesting they go out to talk. However, Naori had other ideas and playfully hinted at wanting something more. By evening, Naori's family gathered to celebrate, and Jun decided to leave so they could have time together. As he walked away, Rumi noticed that he was wearing the matching shoes they had bought back when they were dating. After talking things out with Naori, she no longer minded. Both sisters even suggested going to the convenience store with Jun, and the three of them headed out together. The next day, Naori had a small birthday celebration with her best friend, who had prepared a variety of desserts. They hadn't always gotten along well. In middle school, Naori's friend didn't like her, and when they were placed in a group of 4, the other 2 girls distanced themselves from Naori. This left only the 2 of them together. Over time, her friend realized that she could understand Naori's way of thinking and even see past her tough exterior. Both of them were stubborn, but eventually, they warmed up to each other. Their bond grew stronger, and they even talked about starting a club together, possibly with Jun's help. Suddenly, Sheena arrived with a gift for Naori, as well as one for Rumi. Naori opened hers and found a beautifully designed cat accessory resembling their family's ragdoll cat. Along with the necklace, Sheena also brought a cat ear headband for Rumi, which was so adorable that Naori couldn't resist taking pictures. At that moment, Naori's best friend revealed something interesting. Sheena had asked for help in getting closer to Naori. However, Naori usually ignored people she wasn't interested in, so her friend had suggested that Rumi ask Naori to tutor her. From the beginning, this had been a carefully planned move by both her friend and Sheena. Surprisingly, Naori didn't mind being tricked. Instead, she started to like Sheena more. What she didn't know was that Sheena had admired her since middle school and been looking for a way to get closer. In the end, Sheena wasn't competing with Naori for Jun's attention. She was actually competing with Jun for Naori's. Over the weekend, everyone gathered to watch Rumi's game. With only 2 seconds left, she took a jump shot and scored the winning basket. That night, she was too excited to sleep, and Naori visited her room. Naori admitted that she had never really been interested in basketball. The only reason she had suggested it to Rumi was because she knew her sister liked playing with balls as a child. Rumi had not only tried it, but had stuck with it for years, and now she had another game to prepare for the next day. Rumi's sister, Naori, encouraged her to get some supportive words from Jun before her next basketball match. Since Jun lived right next door, it was easy to reach him. However, during the game, Rumi faced a tough challenge. The opposing team focused entirely on stopping her, making it difficult for her to score. Despite her best efforts, her team lost. She blamed herself, feeling that she could have done more. Instead of going home right away, she stayed in the park crying alone. Naori wanted to message her, but struggled to find the right words. The following day, Rumi ran into Sakaguchi in the hallway. He tried to reminding her that the loss wasn't entirely and that she shouldn't push herself too hard. His unexpected kindness caught her off guard. Before she could react, Sakaguchi confessed that he had feelings for her, admitting that she had been on his mind constantly. Meanwhile, Naori and Jun discussed forming a school club. Moriwaki eagerly agreed to join, even though they hadn't decided on the club's purpose yet. The school required 5 members and a teacher as an advisor. With 3 members already on board, as their conversation continued, Naori's best friend and Sheena arrived, greeting Naori warmly. Jun and Moriwaki were surprised by how close they had become. Now that they had enough members, forming a club seemed possible. Naori simply wanted a space to talk about their interests, but the school required an official purpose. Jun suggested calling it an art critique club, which could involve writing articles and discussing various topics. They still needed a club advisor and a room, and for now, they decided not to inform Rumi. At the same time, Rumi sought advice from her best friend about Sakaguchi's confession. Her friend wasn't surprised since she had already sensed his feelings. However, she knew that if she had warned Rumi earlier, she would have avoided Sakaguchi entirely. Rumi wasn't interested in accepting his feelings, and her friend advised her not to overthink it. She could just act normally. Rumi reluctantly agreed. On their way home by train, Jun and Naori continued discussing the club. While Jun thought new members might help them make more friends, Naori was content with her current group. However, Jun pointed out that they still needed an advisor and a room. Naori dismissed the concern, saying they would deal with it later. Meanwhile, Sakaguchi stopped Rumi, realizing she had been avoiding him. He felt guilty for confessing so suddenly and then asked if she was still dating Jun without thinking. Rumi denied it. Sakaguchi then asked if Jun was involved with Naori, mentioning that people had seen them hugging in the hallway. Rumi clarified that Jun wasn't in a relationship with Naori. The hug had been Naori's doing, and Jun had simply gone along with it. However, she admitted that both she and Naori had feelings for Jun. Sakaguchi wasn't surprised. Before leaving, he invited Rumi to hang out over the weekend, asking her to think about it. Later, Rumi told her best friend about the conversation. Her friend suspected that Sakaguchi was trying to make Rumi question her feelings before making his move. She urged Rumi to act quickly if she truly cared about Jun. That evening, Rumi called Jun but only asked about Sakaguchi's character before ending the call. Jun didn't press for details since he was busy looking for a club advisor. The next day, Naori's best friend suggested that Naori should be the club president. When asked if Rumi knew about the club, Naori's expression changed. She saw no reason to inform her sister and planned to tell her only when everything was finalized. At lunch, Rumi's best friend continued to push her to make a decision about Sakaguchi. If she had no plans of dating him, there was no point in letting it weigh on her mind. After school, Rumi decided to reject Sakaguchi. However, he quickly clarified that he wasn't expecting them to start dating immediately. He simply wanted to spend time with her at least once. Ruby hesitated and said she would talk it over with others to avoid misunderstandings. Meanwhile, Jun had secured a teacher as their club advisor. Now they only needed a room. At the art department, Jun and Moriwaki saw two girls arguing but soon realized they were interested in Moriwaki. Jun interrupted to share the update. The good news was that they had an advisor, but the bad news was that another group was competing for the same club room. The entertainment club wanted to use the space for studying board games like chess. The school hadn't decided who would get the room, so they planned to meet the entertainment club's leader at the train station. Later that day on the way home, Rumi mentioned she would call Jun again in the evening. Just as he was about to respond, Naori rushed her inside, cutting the conversation short. That night, after taking a bath, Rumi eagerly called Jun and immediately asked if she could spend time with Sakaguchi. Jun, confused, told her she was free to do what she wanted. Rumi then revealed Sakaguchi's confession. After a brief silence, Jun asked how she had responded. She explained that she had rejected him, but Sakaguchi still wanted to meet once. Worried that Jun would misunderstand, she emphasized that she had no interest in Sakaguchi. However, Jun remained indifferent, saying her decision had nothing to do with him. He reminded her that they were no longer together. Rumi was deeply hurt by his words. Frustrated, she shouted that he was being unfair. She had shared this with him because she didn't want to hide anything. Overcome with emotion, she hung up and started crying. Hearing her sobs, Naori quickly entered the room and hugged her sister without asking questions. After Rumi calmed down and explained everything, Naori realized that Rumi had actually been hoping Jun would stop her from seeing Sakaguchi. Since he hadn't, Naori suggested she go ahead and meet him instead. Jun and his friends approached a senior student to secure a club room. Sheena, unable to join them, only described the senior, who somewhat resembled Jun upon meeting. The senior bluntly refused to relinquish the room. Jun proposed a chess match as a solution. If they lost, he would join the senior's club, ensuring sufficient membership. If a senior lost, he would hand over the room, benefiting both parties. The senior agreed but insisted on choosing his opponent, selecting Naori. Naori, having played chess in her youth, accepted the challenge. The match was set for the day after tomorrow. Since her knowledge of the rules was rusty, she asked Jun for a refresher, seeing it as an opportunity to spend time alone with him. Jun was about to share this news with two other friends when he saw Rumi's name, reflecting on the previous night. After crying with her sister, Rumi had expressed that she wouldn't have gone to the meeting and wouldn't let Jun decide for her, though she understood Rumi's hesitation due to her friendship with Sakaguchi. Naori provocatively suggested that Rumi only used Sakaguchi, which Rumi denied but decided to meet Sakaguchi, yielding to her sister's wishes. The next day in the basketball team's locker room, the teammates were curious about Rumi's encounter with Sakaguchi. One teammate revealed a past relationship with Sakaguchi, mentioning they were meeting that day. During the gathering, she confessed that Sakaguchi had ended their brief relationship, having already fallen for Rumi. She asked Rumi to share what Sakaguchi would tell her, supporting Rumi's decision to date him and gather insights on his attitude toward ex-girlfriends. Later, Jun texted Rumi to meet and discuss the previous day's events, but she declined, choosing to stay with her friends. Meanwhile, Jun went to teach Naori chess, who seized every chance to flirt with him. Rumi regretted her refusal, wishing for a proper conversation with Jun. It was late when Jun urged Naori to go home, but she wished to stay overnight, embracing him from behind and insisting on staying as they did in childhood. Jun asked her not to be capricious, and she left. When Naori got home, Rumi had just returned. Jun and Rumi planned to connect the next day. Jun told Rumi about their club's situation, which Naori had not mentioned to her. Naori's twin sister had started the club and invited all their mutual friends but left out her sister. Jun felt awkward for Naori, and the conversation between them became strained. Jun apologized, admitting he was irresponsible, but explained that Sakaguchi was his friend and he did not want Rumi to hang out with them. He wanted to hear Rumi's own opinion. After a frank discussion, Rumi admitted she would go because she wanted to find out more about Sakaguchi. Jun had no reason to stop her, so the matter was settled. Rumi then confidently responded to Sakaguchi, and they agreed to meet the next day. That evening, Rumi started planning what to wear when her mother told her that Naori had also gone to Jun's house. Jun's mother invited Rumi to join them for dinner, and she went. Watching Naori and Jun play chess, they were flirting during the game. Naori deliberately asked Jun why he didn't capture her queen. Jun knew he would lose if he did, but not capturing it wouldn't change the situation. Eventually, he got distracted, and Naori won by sacrificing her queen. Naori then asked to kiss Jun as a punishment. Rumi, seeing her crush and rival flirting, still laughed happily, and the three of them shared a laugh together after a long time. The next day, Jun and Naori were to compete in chess against the senior, while Rumi had a date with Sakaguchi. She take care of his concerns, reminding him to return and make it up to her. Jun appreciated her understanding and was about to leave when she playfully asked for a goodbye kiss. Although she didn't expect him to actually do it, Jun kissed her anyway. Unsatisfied, Naori kissed him again, this time on the lips. Before he left, she told him where Rumi might be, mentioning that Rumi had talked about buying amulets for the senior members of the club. Without wasting any time, Jun rushed off. Meanwhile, Rumi and Sakaguchi were at a shrine, strolling and chatting. Sakaguchi was lighthearted and considerate, making sure Rumi felt comfortable. Suddenly, he asked her what she liked about Jun. Rumi couldn't get. She had naturally developed feelings for him over time. Sakaguchi then asked if he would have a chance if Jun weren't around. But Rumi firmly dismissed the idea. Sakaguchi admitted that he had no ill feelings toward his ex-girlfriend, but had never felt a real spark with her. He hoped she would eventually move on. Realizing that his feelings for Rumi were one-sided, became more frustrated with Jun, his rival. Meanwhile, Naori bluntly asked if he was flirting with her. He laughed, finding her even more interesting. The match was so enjoyable that it never reached a conclusion. Instead of finishing, the senior unexpectedly gave up the activity room to them. He didn't really want to part with it, but disliked the idea of being pressured into surrendering. Naori played along, amused by how things had turned out. While all this was happening, Jun remained uneasy. He was concerned about both Naori's chess match and Rumi's meeting with Sakaguchi. Mitch left only Rumi's situation on his mind. After searching, Jun finally found Rumi and Sakaguchi resting near the shrine. He looked at Sakaguchi and said that after receiving his message, he had no choice but to come. Sakaguchi calmly replied that he had only expressed his true feelings. Rumi was unaware of what had been said, and Jun wanted to talk to Sakaguchi privately. But Sakaguchi insisted that they speak in front of Rumi. Jun chose to be honest. He admitted that after their breakup, he had considered getting back together with Rumi, but he later realized that he couldn't confirm his true feelings. Instead of addressing them, he had remained silent. However, Sakaguchi's involvement made him realize that he was more difficult, but he assured Rumi that he would face his feelings and make a decision. He only asked for some time to overcome his own weakness. Rumi hesitated, but eventually agreed to wait. Sakaguchi, however, was frustrated, accusing Jun of stalling instead of making a choice. Despite this, Rumi supported Jun, happy that he was taking things seriously. Sakaguchi, growing more impatient, demanded that Jun choose immediately. Frustrated enough to want to punch him, he turned to Rumi and asked her what she liked about Jun. Rumi answered that Jun had always put her and Naori first. Jun was always there to support her. During this, Sakaguchi, no matter how upset, had to accept the outcome. He admitted that his message had been meant to push Jun into revealing his true thoughts. The invitation made her feel a little guilty. Naori, however, felt nothing. After all, she had stepped aside for Rumi, and since Jun hadn't messaged her yet, she assumed he was busy confessing his love to her sister, missing about their childhood. Afterward, they went their separate ways home. When Rumi arrived, her mother informed her that Naori would be staying at Shina's place, since there was extra. When Jun arrived and found out Naori wasn't there, he was disappointed. He still had a lot to say to her. Meanwhile, at Shina's house, Naori enjoyed a lavish meal. Shina, knowing Naori was determined to win Jun over, assured her that she would support her. It turned out that Naori hadn't given up at all. She had a bold plan for the night. She intended to make Jun hers, using her body to seduce him. This was a decisive moment for her. After dinner, Jun had a conversation with Rumi's father. Later, Rumi invited him to take a walk to the convenience. At some point, without realizing it, they held hands. When they arrived at her doorstep, Jun more. They wished each other good night, and Jun walked home, completely unaware of what awaited him. Naori left Shina's house and went straight to Jun's place, insisting she wanted to stay the night. She claimed it would make up for what happened earlier and used Jun's hesitation to her advantage. Since Jun's parents weren't home, she pressured him, even joking that she would sleep outside or run off with someone else if he refused. Feeling guilty, Jun let her stay. They argued about who should bathe first, with Naori teasing Jun by accusing him of wanting to use her bathwater. Jun was too stunned to respond, but prepared the bath anyway. When it was ready, Naori insisted he go first. While he was in the bathroom, she turned off the power, undressed, and joined him. She offered to wash his back, which made Jun uncomfortable, but instead of pushing her away, he hugged her. However, he eventually found the strength to leave. The next day, Naori seemed upset at the club. More wacky, a friend asked if something had happened with Jun and questioned why she liked him. Naori realized she was hurt not just because Ruby started dating Jun first, but because she truly loved him. However, she struggled to understand if her feelings were pure love or just jealousy and competition. The night before, after bathing, Naori entered Jun's room and casually asked to sleep together. Jun refused. She brought up her unfinished chess match, feeling unsatisfied despite winning. As they talked, she shackled Jun onto the bed. Though Jun turned away from her, they ended up sleeping next to each other. Naori asked Jun to date her, reasoning that it would make their actions acceptable. Jun hesitated. Tearfully, Naori demanded a kiss, leading to a deep one. She suggested dating in secret, but Jun refused, not wanting to betray Rumi. They simply went to sleep. Jun later shared his struggles with Moriwaki, who assumed he was just bragging. Moriwaki felt annoyed and didn't want to be friends anymore. Meanwhile, Naori told her close friends what had happened. Despite Jun's rejection, she believed she still had the advantage. When asked about his feelings, Jun admitted he loved Naori and felt comfortable with her, but also deeply loved Rumi, making it impossible to choose. Jun's mother planned a family camping trip before summer break and invited Rumi and Naori's family. Both sisters excitedly messaged Jun about it. During the trip, Jun's father jokingly hoped one of the sisters would marry into their family, or even both. Jun, deep down, felt the same. That night, after their mothers went to sleep early, Jun and Rumi sat together chatting. Naori joined them, sharing marshmallows and offering Jun a piece she had already bitten. He ate it without hesitation. They decided to visit the observatory. As they stargazed, Jun and Naori talked about constellations while Rumi listened. She had once wanted a telescope because of Jun's interest in stars. Naori teased Rumi, saying she easily believed everything Jun said. Rumi shrugged it off, trusting that Jun would never lie to her. Naori's attitude was more aggressive than usual. Jun noticed and openly said that Rumi was trying to leave her out. Rumi admitted that she had backed off for Naori's sake, but pointed out that Naori was also trying to push her away. Their argument escalated, revealing old tensions. Rumi brought up that she had confessed to Jun first, knowing Naori liked him. She argued that taking the first step mattered, while Naori questioned if it really did. Naori admitted that if she dated Jun, it would permanently damage her bond with Rumi. There was no turning back now. Then she provoked Rumi by revealing that she had made Jun interrupt her outing with Sakaguchi. Furious, Rumi slapped her. Naori, unfazed, told her to stop pretending to be a good sister and let go of unnecessary emotions. Rumi, unable to just forget her feelings, decided to wait for Jun's choice. She saw Naori's actions as avoidance rather than courage. In response, Naori slapped her back. Their fight turned physical until Jun stepped in, only to get slapped by both. Jun finally spoke up, admitting he loved them both and couldn't choose. He tried to find a way where no one would be hurt, but it was impossible. If he chose one, the other would be heartbroken. If he chose neither, both would suffer. However, he promised he wouldn't avoid making a decision forever. For now, they had to accept the situation. Ruby and Naori, unwilling to back down, would continue fighting for him.